got for now? Can I can I get a show of hands from the people in the room if any of you know what the RSS is? About half a dozen people in the room know what the RSS is. Okay. Well, I hope that by the end of my short presentation, everybody in the room will be able to be raising their hands and basically saying, yes, I have some basic idea of what the RSS is. This is the RSS, and you can see them here. They're marching through the city of Hyderabad in southern India on Christmas Day 2019. This is a particularly symbolic march of the RSS because the RSS is a Hindu nationalist paramilitary organization in India which seeks to exterminate both Muslims and Christians in particular from the country. And they're marching through the city of Hyderabad, which is unusual in context of India because it has about 30% Muslim population. India has about 14% or so. So the city of Hyderabad has around twice as many population of Muslims as most of the rest. This is also on Christmas Day, 2019. So this march particularly symbolizes, because of the location and the date chosen for the march, the ideological goal of the RSS, Hindu nationalist paramilitary, which seeks to eradicate Muslims and Christians from the country. The RSS, it is an organization which is the fountainhead. It's like the mother ship from which you have smaller ships going out. The mother ship of an ideology known as Hindutva. Hindutva is the colloquial term for what we would more commonly think of as Hindu nationalism. It's a form of religious nationalism, a religious nationalist political ideology. It's akin to, you could think of it like white nationalism, or Jewish nationalism, or any other kind of religious nationalism which combines religion and politics to pursue political goals with an underlying religious veneer behind it. Now, as the RSS propagates this ideology of Hindutva, which, as you can see, Amnesty International, for instance, says that Hindutva is this idea that India is a Hindu country, that India is a country for Hindus, only for Hindus, and always has been and always should be. As the RSS propagates this idea of Hindutva, it's important to remember that just like Christian nationalism, for instance, Hindu nationalism or Hindutva is not the same thing as Hinduism, the religion. It's a twisting of it. The RSS propagates this ideology through this whole big cobwebby network of Hindu nationalist organizations known as the Sangh Parivar. As I said, the RSS is the fountainhead. It's like the mothership. Underneath it, you have a whole family. Sangh Parivar just technically means family of organizations. And you have a whole family which you can see just a little glimpse of here. The RSS, for instance, has dozens of special interest subsidiary groups, which are all committed to pursuing, advocating the Hindu nationalist ideology in one segment of society or another. Here on the left, you can see one of the most important is the VHP, which is the religious wing of the RSS. You also have, not pictured here, but underneath the VHP, you have a group called the Bajrang Dal. The Bajrang Dal is the youth wing of the religious wing of the RSS. You also have a student wing, charitable wing, and notably, the RSS and all of its subsidiaries beneath it all have international affiliates. One of the most important of which you can see here, correlating with the RSS, this is the HSS, which is the international wing of this RSS paramilitary. And one of the questions that arises as we discuss for a short time the RSS and what it believes, its structure, it as this giant overarching mothership with a whole family of organizations underneath it. Question is, well, why does this matter? How big, for instance, how influential is the RSS? Well, you can see the RSS itself, as a paramilitary, has an estimated 6 million members. And I say estimated because the group doesn't actually keep official records and doesn't formally release its membership rolls. In addition, you have the VHP, the religious wing of the RSS, and you have the Bajrang Dal, the youth wing of the religious wing of the RSS. Combined, the RSS, the VHP, the Bajrang Dal, all of these groups have 7, 5, 6, what does that add up to, 18 million? 18 million militant members within just the direct, most important organizations of this Hindu nationalist network. And for instance, I mean, on the question of how influential, how important is the RSS, how much reach does it have? Well, the current chief of the RSS, you can see here, has bragged, boasted, that by the year 2025, and that's 3 years from now, but it's also an important date, which I'll get to briefly in a little while. It's an important date because it marks the 100th anniversary, the centennial anniversary of the founding of the RSS. By the year 2025, this Hindu nationalist paramilitary intends to have branches, chapters, within every single village of India. Okay? That's 3 years from now, but already the RSS has reached all of the national halls of power within India. See, when I mentioned the Sangh Parivar and its subsidiaries, its affiliates, I mentioned the VHP, I mentioned the Bajrang Dal, I mentioned its international affiliates, etc. I may have neglected to mention one of the most significant and important of these subsidiaries of the RSS, being the BJP, the political wing of the RSS. It was produced by the RSS. It's controlled by the RSS. And the BJP is the largest political party in the world. There's almost 200 million members. And as the BJP's been the political party in power in India since 2014. Came back to power for a second term in 2019. And in power, of course, as the party in power, it has the prime minister in office. Well, the prime minister himself, he's the BJP prime minister, but he's also a lifelong member of the RSS, Mr. Narendra Modi. He joined this RSS organization when he was 8 years old. There's also the president, is an RSS member. There's also the home minister, and home minister is kind of an important one to call out because we're not so used to this term in the US, but in parliamentary systems like the UK, home minister is the cabinet position, cabinet member in charge of internal law and order in the country, basically the top cop. And the top cop in the country, the home minister, is also an RSS member, as are approximately 75% of all of the national cabinet ministers in the country. So you can see with all the top positions, including 75% of the cabinet controlled by members of the RSS or people who are members of affiliated organizations of the RSS, I would argue, basically rules India today. Well, a couple of years ago, internationally renowned author Arundhati Roy commented, and you can see, she's a political commentator, a novelist, well-respected around the globe. She's from India, notable for her dissenting remarks. And as you can see, she says that the RSS is no longer a shadow state or a parallel state. The RSS is the state in India. And she says that the level of influence that the RSS is exercising in various segments, sectors of society is worrying. Well, why is it worrying? I mean, obviously, it's, as I hope you can get a glimpse of, the tip of the iceberg already, the RSS does exercise a great deal of influence, but why should that be concerning? That's concerning because the RSS is the world's oldest, largest, and fastest growing fascist movement. The RSS, a couple of quick bullet points, founded in 1925, almost 100 years old. It's founded the same year that Hitler published his manifesto. founded the same year that the SS was founded, the SS, of course, being responsible for the Holocaust. And leading up after 1925, when the RSS was founded, over the next 10, 20 years, into the 1930s, the 1940s, well, I want to call your attention to this man on the left. His name is Emil Skolvarkar. He's the longest serving, the most influential chief of the RSS. He led the RSS for 33 years, from 1940 to 1973. He is considered today by the RSS to be their guru. They call him their guru. He basically molded, influenced, and articulated the RSS's ideology. He detailed the views of the RSS in a couple of manifestos, but the first of those manifestos was published in the year 1939. And for those of you who have a little bit of fondness for history, please do recall 1939 was a World War II, monumental year in World War history. The launch of the Second World War with the invasion of Poland, the invasion of Czechoslovakia, and Nazi Germany. The Nazis have been in power since 1933, had already established a lot of the groundwork within the country to segregate, ghettoize the Jewish community, and to begin to exterminate them from the country. Well, the question is, what did Golvarkar, the longest serving, most influential chief of the RSS, think? I'm not going to dwell too much on this because I could bore you with this for the next 2 hours. But he thought that everybody in India is a Hindu by birth. He thought that those Hindus who convert into other religions have succumbed to divided loyalty, that they no longer possess undivided loyalty to the nation. Why? Simply because they've changed their religion. He thought that it is treason. That it's treason if somebody converts from Hinduism to any other religion. He also specifically called out Christians and Muslims. He called Christians and Muslims in particular foreign elements, internal threats, and traitors. Muslims are rabidly anti-national living in India. Indian Christians, they're bloodsuckers, and they always will be. Muslims and Christians here have to give up their foreign mental complexion. And the only way to achieve national unity among all Indian citizens, well, is for everybody living in the country to follow the Hindu way of life. He also thought that Christians and Muslims living in India, who he described as foreign races, that they should hold no other idea in their heads but the glorification of the Hindu race and culture, and that if they failed to do so and failed to give up their foreign mental complexion, merge into the national way of life, that they could maybe stay in the country if they were subordinated and if they were stripped of their citizens' rights. Now, again, keeping in mind that these comments were written in 1939, launch of the Second World War. And the groundwork for the Holocaust had already been laid, and the world had already grown pretty familiar with what it was that Hitler was planning towards the Jewish people and other communities. This is also what Emil Skolvarkar, the longest-serving, most influential chief of the RSS, thought. He thought, pointing to Germany in 1939, so pointing to Nazi Germany, he thought that Nazi Germany had demonstrated race pride at its highest by purging the country of the Semitic races, the Jews. And he called it a good lesson for us in Hindustan, that is India, to learn and profit by. He also, if you take a look at this sentence and break it down, basically here, Germany has also shown how well nigh impossible it is for races and cultures having differences going to the root to be assimilated into one united whole. Basically what he's arguing is that Nazi Germany had demonstrated and justified that multiculturalism is impossible. And he thought that that was something that should be followed as a model in India. Well, with that kind of an underlying ideology, which I've just touched very briefly on the tip of the iceberg, It's not really any surprise to me or to other students of the RSS or of Hindu nationalism that the RSS and its affiliates have a long, bloody history of extreme anti-minority violence. That's manifested in a lot of different ways. That's manifested in assassinations, including, for instance, in 1948, an RSS member assassinated Gandhi. That's manifested in lynchings, terrorist bombings, anti-Muslim terrorist bombings, including one series in the mid-2000s that were personally sanctioned by the current chief of the RSS, who's visited here in Chicago. It's manifested in small-scale and large-scale pogroms against minorities, especially Muslims, but also Christians and some others. Most recent and most horrific of which I'll just briefly mention before moving on, was in 2002 in the state of Gujarat, when the current Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, who is an RSS member, oversaw, as the BJP, the political wing of the RSS, the VHP, the religious wing of the RSS, and other Hindu nationalist groups, took to the streets for 3 days and systematically slaughtered approximately 2,000 men, women, and children from Muslim communities throughout the state of Gujarat. Well, we could dwell more on some of those atrocities, but for now, fast forwarding to the present day a little bit. I think that it's established that the RSS has a great deal of influence in India. I would argue the RSS rules India. So the question becomes, in the present day, past 6 months, what does RSS rule of India look like? RSS rule of India looks like this. This is in Delhi, the capital of India, the capital of the country, in December 2021. This is an oath-taking ceremony being led by an RSS member who also happens to be a prominent media personality in the country. Taking an oath to make India a Hindu nation, keep it a Hindu nation only. And they're pledging to fight, die, and if required, kill as well to make India a Hindu nation. RSS rule of India also looks like this. A conference, packed hall, you can see packed hall. This is a few months back, somewhere in central India. There's dangers from churches, dangers from mosques. Islam is a fast poison and Christianity is a slow poison. Islam should be wiped off the earth. Oh, and also Christianity should be too. This is a Hindu nationalist conference a few months ago. RSS rule of India also looks like this. This was December of 2021 in the city of Haridwar. Don't let a Muslim become the prime minister. Increase your population. Decrease the population of Muslims. Kill 20 lakh. So she's saying that they want to decrease the population of Muslims. They're ready to kill and even go to prison in order to do it. And she says they want to decrease the population of Indian Muslims by 20 lakh, which is 2 million. Now, RSS rule of India looks like that, but it also looks like this. And pay attention, if you will. I apologize for those who don't follow this. You don't know who these personalities are until you know who they are. But this old bald guy there in the yellow, his name is Praveen Togadia. He is the longtime former head of the VHP, the religious wing of the RSS. And what he's doing here is he's distributing weapons. He's distributing a small weapon called a trishul. It's like a short trident. So he's distributing these weapons, and as he's doing it, leading a pledge that they're going to drive 5 million Muslims out of India. He goes on to promise that they're going to arm 20 million youth with these weapons. Well, RSS rule of India also looks like this. The Bajrang Dal is the youth wing of the VHP, which is the religious wing of the RSS. Middle of the day, massive march of hundreds of youth, armed. They've probably been armed with that same trishul, that knife that was being distributed that you saw in the previous video. And probably a weekday, bunch of teenagers, probably maybe in their 20s, probably almost all of them unemployed. Nothing better to do than, after they've been brainwashed and armed, go and march in a militant style through the middle of the streets, middle of the day. RSS rule of India also looks like this, and this occurred during this past Ramadan. This is a Hindu nationalist Swami demagogue. He's sitting outside of a masjid, outside of a mosque, during Ramadan, and he's filming himself boldly, openly, blatantly, unapologetically, and saying like, oh, well, if any Muslims like bother any like one Hindu girl, we're going to go and we're going to pick up your women and we're going to rape them. That's what RSS rule of India looks like, but it also looks like this. In this video is the last that I'll show you at the moment. This one was also filmed during Ramadan, and just for context, this is outside of a mosque as well. This is during Ramadan outside of a mosque. And what is, I believe they were saying Desh Karo? Desh Karo? They're chanting anti-national. Well, if you recall, RSS ideology teaches that Muslims, Christians, Muslims are internal threats, foreign elements, traitors. They're anti-national. So this is what RSS rule of India looks like right now during Ramadan. It looks like the police standing there protecting a mob of hundreds or more, I don't even know how many are there, armed, probably drugged up youth, probably in their teens and 20s, basically throwing a rave outside of a mosque, chanting anti-national. I don't know about you, but that might disturb me if I thought that they were doing that towards me. And actually, quick show of hands, who has ever had something like this occur outside of this masjid? This is... Okay. So at the time, the SWAT team came and the police protected you. Yep. In this video, it appears the police are on the side of the KKK of India. So, that's bad. I mean, visually, you can see it looks horrible. Doesn't look like a great situation at the moment. This is just all from the past 6 months, and I've just shown you a tip of the iceberg, just a real, just small taste of it. Exactly. I mean, there's so many videos that I could show you just from the past 2 or 3 weeks. So then the question is, and there's a lot of other current incidents that I could discuss. The question is, I mean, this is worrying. It's worrying from a world, global perspective. It's worrying for regional stability. It's worrying for India's stability and for regional stability in South Asia. It's worrying from a humanitarian perspective. But is there any aspect of it which directly impacts us here in America? Is there some way in which this is, really more closely connected to us? Aside, of course, from the fact that many of you or your friends' family might be from South Asia. Well, it actually has a little bit to do with us. You see, if you recall this chart showing the Song Parvar, I did mention all these international affiliates of the RSS. Here you have, for instance, the HSS in the center. The HSS is the international wing of the RSS. And the HSS in America has about 250 chapters across the country, maybe a dozen or so throughout Chicagoland, including one in Naperville, I believe Aurora, I believe Schaumburg as well. The VHP, the religious wing of the RSS, also has an international affiliate here in the US, the VHP America. And also notice up there at the top right, the BJP, the political wing of the RSS, the party which rules India currently. The BJP has an international wing as well called the Overseas Friends of the BJP. And they're active. They're hugely active throughout the US. And just give you a quick glimpse. This is what the HSS looks like. And pay attention again if you don't know the personalities, but once you come to know them. These are pictures of the first two chiefs of the RSS, including that gentleman Golvarkar, who I mentioned to you, who praised Nazi racial policy. And this is the HSS, the RSS's international wing, marching through Texas a couple of years ago. So the HSS and the Overseas Friends of the BJP, they're basically separate organizations legally, but their membership is pretty much interlinked. Like members of one group typically are members of the other, or vice versa. And they're pretty active, HSS and OFBJP, pretty active in various areas of the country, including Chicago, New Jersey, California, Florida, Texas. This is one of the most important members of the HSS. This is the RSS's #2 man in America. Here he is pictured at an RSS training camp in Pune, India, in end of 2010. You can see he's wearing the RSS uniform. His name's Ramesh Buttada. He's an industrialist living in Houston. And he's the vice president of the HSS. He's there accompanied by a whole delegation of colleagues in the HSS who are also from Houston area in Texas. Well, that gentleman I just showed you, the RSS's #2 man in America, Ramesh Buttada, he's with the HSS, but he's also done a lot of work with the Overseas Friends of the BJP. And the OFBJP and the HSS, they were a big help from America, surprisingly, to getting Modi elected back in India. They were such a huge help that they mobilized hundreds, actually across all networks. They probably mobilized up to about 5,000 people to travel from America back to India to serve as campaign workers on the ground working to get the BJP elected. Most of them, and all their leadership pretty much that I've been able to trace, being American citizens. A little strange to think about, and I like to kind of contextualize it this way. Think if in this country, thousands of Americans had moved to Russia and they renounced their US citizenship and they became Russian citizens. But every election cycle, for instance, during America's 2020 presidential election cycle, we then had thousands of these American expatriates, that is, Americans who'd left America and taken up Russian citizenship. And every election cycle, we had thousands of them coming back here to knock on our doors and even staff polling booths and go around and work to get a particular political party elected. I think we'd find that a little bit odd. In fact, actually, I think we'd probably be outraged, and I think we'd probably consider it to be foreign interference. Anyways, moving on. The Overseas Friends of the BJP began mobilizing for this campaign from America to work in India to get Modi and the BJP elected. They began mobilizing very early, as early as 2011. You can see them holding a training camp here. It was a massive mobilization drive. You can see as they went to serve as boots on the ground to get Modi elected in India. The RSS's number 2 man in America, Ramesh Buttada, the vice president of the HSS, he described the preparations as being like the preparations for an Indian wedding, as he himself organized from Houston a phone bank of about 700 people who didn't travel to India but sat on the phone and called back to India and told Indians to vote for the BJP. And after Modi was elected, the BJP, the OFBJP, continued operating in the US as a PR machine, propaganda mouthpiece to promote Modi, the BJP, the Hindu nationalist policies of that government. They do it in a variety of ways. They organize protests in the streets to support policies of the Modi government. They pressurize American lawmakers who have the guts to dare to speak out a little bit about the human rights situation in India. They also helped to build Modi up among the Indian American diaspora. And one way they've done this is by promoting him through what are known as rock star receptions for Modi. These receptions, the last of which was Howdy Modi in Houston, Texas, are kind of a way for both the BJP to promote Modi and the BJP within America, as well as for Modi, I think, to give back to his supporters in America who worked so hard to get him elected in India. And the last one, as I mentioned, Howdy Modi, it was huge. There was about 50,000 people who attended. 20,000 people were outside protesting. I was one of them. But it was so big, you know, even President Trump at the time, he attended the event alongside Narendra Modi. And there was one shocking outcome, among many others we could probably talk about from the whole event. Now, if you listen to what Modi had to say. In India. Connected well with President Trump. The words of candidate Trump. Ab ki bar, Trump Sarkar. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Hindi or Urdu, which I don't speak, but I at least know what this means. Ab ki bar, Trump Sarkar, in retrospect, it's a little bit amusing, kind of chuckle, but it essentially means once more the Trump regime. Keep in mind, this is a foreign political leader, forget about his credentials, foreign political leader on American soil. Trump, he's up for re-election. He's a president running for re-election. And he's promoting him. He's essentially endorsing him for re-election. Yeah, exactly. And that wasn't, surprisingly, the only foreign interference in America's 2020 presidential election. In February of 2020, there was a pogrom in Delhi, an anti-Muslim pogrom. And during that pogrom, or after that pogrom, Senator Bernie Sanders, who was running for president at the time, came out and strongly criticized the Modi BJP government, which was responsible for the pogrom. In response, a top BJP official went on Twitter and said to this gentleman who was running for president at the time that, well, basically, we don't want to, but you've forced our hand, you've compelled us. We have to interfere in America's presidential election. He said interfere. He later deleted the tweet, but not before news media got wind of it and covered it. It's open threat of foreign interference in America's sovereign elections by the BJP. You know, if all that sounds a little bit suspicious, I think the US government thought so too, because in August of 2020, the Overseas Friends of the BJP was forced to register, despite having been operating openly in America for 30 years almost. After 30 years of operation, they were finally forced to register as a foreign agent, meaning they're now under the radar of the US government. They're, you know, compelled to be transparent, especially in their finances, and file reports, et cetera, et cetera. But that happened. That happened after the Overseas Friends of the BJP had already worked from America to get Modi elected in India, organized rock star receptions for Modi in America where Modi endorsed our president for re-election, or encouraged Indian American BJP supporters to support Trump. And after they'd already had a lot of interactions with federal level elected officials. For instance, you can see this person. This is Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. She's pictured there in August of 2014. That's a couple of months after Modi was elected in India. And here she is posing at a banquet organized by the Overseas Friends of the BJP, which is now a registered foreign agent in America. The banquet was organized for the specific purpose of celebrating Modi's election. And what's she wearing around her neck there? Anybody? BJP logo. Well, when I see somebody wearing a BJP logo, I mean, my initial takeaway from that is it's an endorsement of the political party. I don't go around wearing a GOP Republican pin and expect people to think like I'm not endorsing the GOP or Democratic Party pin or what have you. Well, actually it wasn't the first time she did that. On the right there you can see her. That's in Los Angeles about a month earlier. Twice technically. On the right, that's from the same event, and then on the left, that's from a separate event. I believe June, August of 2014. And beyond that, here you have. I mentioned the RSS's international wing. It's called the HSS. This is just one of many pictures I could show you. Here you have Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who was at the time on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and soon to be running for president, and there she is at an HSS event. And again, gonna have to keep coming back to it until you know who the personalities involved are, but once you do, okay. This is Ramesh Puttada, RSS's #2 man in America, the vice president of the HSS in this country. His son, his family. This is Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. This is Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard in Hawaii at her wedding. And at her wedding, she had the RSS's #2 man in America. This gets a little bit more interesting. Does anybody in the room know who that gentleman on the left is? Yes. Actually, I believe, if I may correct you, current spokesperson of the BJP in India, and former spokesperson of the RSS in India. Yeah, right around here, I think this is 2015. I think the year before, he'd been reassigned from RSS spokesperson to BJP spokesperson. So this is Ram Madhav. He's a long time, 20, 30-year executive within the RSS and the BJP. He's currently a BJP spokesperson. He's formerly an RSS spokesperson. Here he is at the wedding of Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who's on the House Foreign Affairs Committee at the time. He's presenting at her wedding. He's actually presenting a gift, a personal gift from Modi to Tulsi Gabbard. Show of hands if anybody else in the room has ever had an RSS executive at their wedding. Haven't lived until then, but okay. Okay, well, Tulsi Gabbard, she's not alone. I don't want to single her out. She's out of office, and there's a number of other pro-RSS, BJP candidates, elected officials who are kind of walking in her steps. And however, before I introduce you to a couple of them, let me just tell you about Ro Khanna. Congressman Ro Khanna is in the Bay Area of California. And RSS BJP links, ties of Tulsi Gabbard, was actually one of the first things I wrote about when it comes to what I do a lot, which is write about the RSS BJP ties and links of various elected officials or political candidates in America. I wrote an 18,000-word article about it in relation to just Tulsi Gabbard. I wrote that as a cover article for a progressive print magazine in India in 2019. 18,000 words. It was excruciating detail because, well, there was a lot to talk about. And in response to that, Congressman Ro Khanna came out on Twitter, and he called it an important article, and then he said, it's the duty. It's the duty of every politician of Hindu faith to stand for pluralism, to reject Hindutva. It's the duty. Hindutva being what? Hindu nationalism. So Ro Khanna is a Hindu. He's an Indian American practicing Hindu. He's also a Hindu who understands the evils and dangers of Hindutva, of Hindu nationalism. And he took this stand. It was a bold, it was a courageous, it was a principled stand. And there's a lot I could talk about it, but one of the things I want to talk about it was the backlash he got for it. Because the backlash manifested in local HSS and overseas Friends of the BJP members and leaders in the Bay Area rushing to prop up a pro-Hindutva, pro-RSS candidate to try and unseat Ro Khanna. This gentleman is Ritesh Tandon. He first threw his hat in the ring against Ro Khanna in 2020. He's now running against him again and just trying to make a little bit of a foot in the door. Interestingly enough, speaking of personalities, this is Ritesh Tandon on the far left, although he kind of leans far right. And then this gentleman with him, his name's Chandru Bamra. Chandru Bamra just so happens to be the former president of this group, the Overseas Friends of the BJP, which is now a registered foreign agent. This is Sambit Patra. Sambit Patra is an Indian citizen who is the spokesperson, a spokesperson for the BJP. So here you have a US congressional candidate, and this picture was taken while he was on the campaign trail, and he's accompanied by a spokesperson for a foreign political party, and of course not just any foreign political party, but a foreign political party which is the political wing of the world's oldest, largest, and fastest growing fascist movement, the RSS. Another gentleman, you have Rishi Kumar. He's a Saratoga, California city councilor. He's also running for Congress in a neighboring district, second time. He's now in the runoff. He's in the top two, and he's going to be on the ballot in November. Here you can see him, appears to be endorsing the BJP at an event that was hosted for the re-election of Narendra Modi. And I just want to let you know that, I mean, I've had the privilege of joining, but the local community has not been silent, lying down, or inactive when it comes to such ties. So this is how the community responded. This was about 2 weeks ago. Yes, sir. I was there as well. This is outside of the Saratoga City Hall. Saratoga City Hall, because Rishi Kumar is running for Congress, but he's already currently an elected city councilor. And I had the privilege of joining local community members. There was about 40 of us out there for an hour. And in response to this gentleman's ties to the BJP in America, support for Modi, that's what the community did. But besides Rishi Kumar, Ritesh Tandon, Tulsi Gabbard, who's no longer in office, et cetera, and I could go into some others, we also have another politician who is already in office and running for re-election and rumored to have ambitions to run for US Senate. And he's a little bit more local, a little closer to home. I believe his name is Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy. Here's Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy at HSS event in October of 2019. And if anybody's been tracking with me, what is the HSS? International wing of the RSS. So Congressman at the international wing of the RSS event, and this was not just any HSS event, not just any event hosted by the international wing of the RSS. This event was actually hosted to celebrate the founding of the RSS. And quickly, apologize for the quality of the pictures, but HSS really needs to hire better photographers for their events. However, it's good enough that you can see over the congressman's shoulder, this gentleman, if you recall, we've mentioned his name a couple of times, M.S. Golvarkar. M.S. Golvarkar was the second longest serving and the most influential chief of the RSS. And his picture there behind the congressman is garlanded and on stage, indicating garlanding, for those of you who have any knowledge of South Asian culture, would tend to indicate honoring or celebrating. And it's on stage. And the congressman is sharing the stage with this picture. And what was it that this gentleman said, Mr. Golvarkar? Guru Golvarkar, as the RSS calls him. Oh, yeah. M.S. Golvarkar, the second longest-serving, most influential chief of the RSS, called the groundwork that was laid for the Holocaust by Nazi Germany race pride manifest at its highest, and he said it was a good lesson to learn and profit by. Essentially, he praised Nazi racial policies and said they should be adopted as a model to follow towards India's religious minorities. So I don't know, is that what Congressman Raja Krishnamurti stands for? It's a good question. I mean, see, the thing is, and again, personalities. I know who he stands with. Here's the Congressman Raja, standing with a gentleman by the name of Bharat Barai. This picture was taken at an event that was hosted, organized by Barai and a few others in, I believe, May of 2016, before Congressman Raja won his first primary, which for any of you who follow politics or have a little bit of knowledge of how the political system works, before you win your first primary is actually when a politician is kind of the most vulnerable and the most in need of a boost up. Well, Bharat Barai, he's the godfather of the RSS in America. And I could go into a lot of details about how, but just a couple of quick ones. He's Modi's biggest champion in the US. Modi used to stay in his home. Back when Modi was a member of the RSS in the 1990s, he came to the US for a few trips before he became prime minister and all of that. And he used to stay in Bharat Barai's home here in Chicagoland. With such an intimate connection with the family, the Times of India actually reports that Bharat Barai's wife in the morning would be laying out Modi's change of clothes for the day. Barai's also done a lot to help Modi, too much to detail now, but in 2014, he was so passionate about getting Modi elected in India that he personally led a team of 650 people. This gentleman led a team of 650 people to travel from America, mostly from Chicagoland, back to India to serve as boots on the ground as campaign workers to get Modi and the BJP elected. Oh, and then after Bharat Barai was successful in getting Modi elected in India in 2014, he did turn around to work to get Raja elected in 2016. Moving on, as we come to a conclusion. Here's Congressman Raja in Texas. I believe this is in Houston. And I could actually tell you a little bit about some of these other people, but just focus on this guy for a second. We've seen him a couple of times already tonight. Houston, industrialist, HSS's vice president, saw him wearing an RSS uniform in India. He's RSS's #2 man in America. He also worked tirelessly to, from America, get Modi elected in India. He was basically a campaign worker for Modi. And between Mr. Butata and Mr. Barai, between them and their families, by families I mean them and their spouses primarily, they've given Raja Krishnamurti since about 2015, they've given him about $80,000 combined donations. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when I'm talking about donors to this member of Congress who might have such credentials. So the question is, anyways, where does Raja stand, Congressman Raja stand on the issue of the RSS? Well, that's difficult for me to say. And one reason it's difficult for me to say is because this is what happens when I ask him. Congressman, I just want to ask you, what are your views on the RSS? What are your views on the impending Muslim genocide in India, Congressman? Said, Congressman, what are your views on the RSS? Congressman, what are your views on the RSS? What are your views on the RSS, and what are your views on the impending genocide of Muslims in India? Congressman Raja Krishnamurti has no answer. And, I've written all up and detailed it, but just quickly, remember that organization I mentioned called the Overseas Friends of the BJP, the OFBJP? It's the international wing of the BJP, which is the political wing of the RSS, and in August 2020, it was forced to register as a foreign agent. Well, up until 2019, this gentleman, who's given the congressman about $15,000, his name is Vijay Prabhakar, up until about 2019, he's on record as being such a hardcore top leader for the OFBJP, which is now a registered foreign agent, that he described himself as the Tamil Nadu state OFBJP state coordinator or the state coordinator for Tamil Nadu OFBJP activities. He oversaw activities of the OFBJP throughout Tamil Nadu. In 2019, he himself actually says he traveled back to India, toured all over Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Telangana, other areas of the country, promoting the BJP and working to help it get back reelected in 2019. And if you notice again, I just want to briefly play this again. What is this gentleman doing with the congressman? When I go up to ask the congressman a simple, calm, collected question, this guy freaks out. He starts shouting at me. As he's shouting at me, what does he do? He puts his hands on the congressman's shoulders and appears to be handling him and escorting him out of the room. Anyways, that's just my perspective. Well, you know, Raja, the congressman, is, in my opinion, he's running away from questions about the RSS. That's what it appeared to be to me. I ask him and he just flat runs away. But some brave local people have been standing their ground on the issue. Well, last item I want to bring up as I come to a close is there's a number of politicians who are currently in office or running for office that have deep ties. There's a lot of connection in America where the RSS's international wing and the BJP's international wing have used American soil to really promote and support as a support base for the regime, the Modi, the RSS, the BJP regime back in India. And the RSS Modi regime in India, RSS BJP Modi regime in India, owes a lot of its success, arguably, to the activities of those groups here in America, and so on. And of course, you saw Congressman Raja Krishnamurti. But with all of this, and again, just tip of the iceberg, I could keep you here for another 3 hours if you were willing to listen to me. With all of this, there was recently quite a victory. This is, at the time, the acting ambassador of the US to India, Atul Keshup. Here he is at the headquarters of the RSS in India. And what he is doing is he's meeting with the chief of the RSS. And he's basically staging a photo op with the chief of the RSS at the RSS headquarters. Then you can see he tweeted about it through his official Twitter account, US Ambassador to India, and put out commentary about it, which essentially came across as though he was legitimizing, whitewashing, granting credibility to this Hindu nationalist paramilitary, which is responsible for extreme anti-minority violence and which espouses a fascist ideology. So, because this happened, I and various community members, we leaped into action. And a number of things we did. We organized several protests. This was the first one of several. This was in California, outside the office of Congressman Ami Bera. Why Ami Bera? Because he's the chair of the subcommittee on Asia, which is responsible for influences U.S. foreign policy towards India. This gentleman, he's the Asia Advocacy Director for Human Rights Watch. He condemned the meeting in no uncertain terms and basically compared the U.S. ambassador to India meeting with the RSS chief to if, and this did not happen, to if in 1933, when the Nazis came to power in Germany, the U.S. ambassador to Germany at the time had gone to a Nuremberg rally and participated in a Nazi event. This was a congressman from Maryland. He warned that by meeting with the RSS, the ambassador could have jeopardized the communities that the RSS is targeting, and so on. But the end result. The meeting occurred between the ambassador and the RSS chief in September of 2021. By January of 2022, this ambassador is a 28-year veteran in the Foreign Service, and I've never been in government service, but if any of you have ever been, my understanding is that typically if you've got 28 years, you're not going to retire at 28, you're probably just going to go to 30 and retire at the 30. Well, this gentleman, 28 years in service, after 3-4 months of sustained community protest against him as literally his final act as an ambassador, was doing this, meeting the chief of the RSS for this photo op that he promoted. he left the Foreign Service. He's no longer, and that was the demand, that he resign or be fired. He's no longer in the Foreign Service. He's now, unfortunately, president of the U.S.-India Business Council, so he's a high-paid lobbyist, but he's no longer a government official. And this is, in my experience, one of the biggest victories, most recent victories too, that we've seen in combating the promotion of the RSS within America. So, you know, all this wraps around to really the question of what can I do? What can you do? What can we do? The first thing I would recommend is to get informed. And I would recommend to get informed, if you're interested, by reading my book. And I speak in a spirit of humility, but I would recommend this because as somebody who's full-time professional working on these issues, I can tell you, and this is one of the reasons I wrote it, that there are a lot of good books about the RSS-BJP, but there are not a lot of good pop books about the RSS-BJP, which are easily accessible and digestible for your average non-academic reader. So if you don't know about the issue, I would recommend reading this or another good book to get informed about it so you can start talking about it. I would recommend talk to your neighbors, bring it up with your colleagues. And then two things. Quick show of hands. Who here in the room has recently contacted their congressional representative about any issue? Anybody else? Nobody else in the room has contacted your congressional rep? Okay. So about any issue. That's the first thing I would recommend to anybody that is concerned about these issues, is there's a couple ways to go about it, and both of the ones I would recommend are really low barrier to entry, really simple to do, and really low time commitment. One is look up your congressional representative. Is the representative here? Is it Roger Krishnamurti? Okay. Do you?
Luckily not.
Who is it?
Mary Newman Wish.
Mary Newman, I've heard of it.
Changed the district, and now they want.
Okay. I've heard that name, Mary Newman. So,
She's very good.
Mary Newman, I've heard good things about her.
That's fine.
Well, so what I would recommend, my opinion, two ways. One, go on Google, look up Mary Newman or look up your rep, find out who they are, find their official congressional page, locate their district office, ideally, so it's local, not the one in DC. Pick up the phone, dial them, speak with whoever picks up on the other end, just a staffer, and the staffers, they have to record these phone calls, so they keep a history of it. And tell them, very simply, I'm a constituent, and I'm concerned about what's happening in India. And my question is, what is my representative planning to do about it? That's it. And if you start doing this, I guarantee nobody else is doing this right now. The other thing is, if you have a little bit more time and energy, and there's good organizations that have already available information packets. If you really want to do something that will begin to get the attention of the elected officials, because that's the whole goal with this stuff, is to demonstrate to them that there are people, and there are people from within the community that are demanding that they pay attention to this. So if nobody's calling them about it, if nobody's emailing them about it, or if nobody's doing this, where weekday, you have some time on your hands, take 3 people, 5 people, show up at the office, knock, ask for a couple of minutes, show up with an information packet, especially if you're a constituent. They're going to let you in, they have to let you in. Maybe they give you time. Sometimes you can just show up and get like 10, 15 minutes with a staffer. Maybe they just take your information, but it makes a difference when that happens. Because, And I mean this very seriously, nobody else is doing this right now. And then the last thing is I would encourage you to organize more and more events like this, and not just with me, but with other speakers on this same topic. Why? Well, because the reason being is pretty simple, hard truth to swallow, but no hyperbole and no exaggeration. The country of India right now is ruled and controlled by the world's oldest, largest, and fastest growing fascist movement. And after 8 years of that being the case, India is now at a stage where no hyperbole, no exaggeration, minorities, and especially Muslim minorities throughout India, are facing an impending genocide. So the stakes really have never been higher.
We have exactly 5 minutes.